we're very ready for the Rugby World Cup semi-finals after a great weekend of quarterfinal action. The Black Ferns, they didn't have it all go their way. There was a lot of good play and then a little bit of messy play against a South African team that tried a few interesting things like entire team mauls and all those kind of things. It was quite a fun game to watch in that way because it was different.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was very tight in that first half. Like, we obviously gave a lot of opportunities through, I suppose, discipline in particular, but also skill set errors. I suppose the one thing out of the Irish game and this game was their ability to defend the line. If you look at the Canadian side, they had such quick ball. I think it was 85% lightning quick ball. But the one thing the Black Ferns have had ability to do, and there's two reasons why, and I think injuries will be key around where they've been successful around this, but their loose forwards, the competitiveness of the loose forwards has really enabled them to slow ball down. But their sevens players in the backs, they really disrupt and put a lot of pressure in and around the breakdown. And, you know, like that ability to slow that ball defensively allows them to get set and then make their one-on-one tackles. Yes, they'll face different athletes and I suppose more explosive and powerful when against the likes of England or France or Canada this week. But I do think from a systems point of view, they look rock solid because they don't want to be defending that much in the first 40 against those sides, but they've tested it out and it seems to hold true.
They held pretty firm, and I mean the French were also tested heavily by Ireland. They defended like their lives depended on it. Like they had a third of the ball that the Irish had, and they just had to tackle. 13 entries from Ireland. So there are a lot of teams that have had to in the quarterfinals absorb.
Yeah, man, I think when you look at both New Zealand and the French, it's their own, the one positive, it's their own indiscretion that's providing that opportunity rather than systems breaking down. So that means they're in control of their own destiny. They need to sort it out fast though, because that's 2 weeks in a row. I'm talking about the Black Ferns here, 2 weeks in a row where they've survived it. But it's just, you know that the semi-final and the final are going to be won on such fine margins. You can expect to give some penalties away, but you just don't want to have that sort of sustained pressure for 40 minutes. But talk about second halves, you know, talking about the Springboks second half, the Black Ferns second half was just unbelievable. And a lot of it generated off speed of ball, similar. But Maya Joseph, I thought that it's the best test I've seen her play. Like her speed to the breakdown, but then her decision making and the ability, that tracer bullet pass, like she's, extremely exciting, but it's also those effort areas to put kick pressure on, which led to a try. There was a lot to like about her game, and again, the competitiveness of her and Poldy Lane. You can see it working wonders as they go through this tournament.
One of the places where they, getting into this tournament, had their biggest strength was in the midfield, and we're now looking at a bit of a minor crisis there. Du Plessis is heading off. She's not in the team anymore. She's got an injury. We've got Brunt, who's got a possible HIA. We've got the same problem with Setefano. So Stacey Waka is now the only fit person out of those four who were relatively interchangeable to some degree because they're all such quality players. Where do they go now? Do they try to put Ruhe into 12? Do they switch Waka in and use Woodman in the midfield? Like, what is the best option for them?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be... well, I don't know who's available at the moment, but I think if they were to be out, I think the safest play in a semi-final is move Ruhe to 12. I think that's why they went for the experience as in the backup 10. And I think, like, just even our interview with Portia, like, she goes, I love my time in the midfield, but, you know, like, I'm still, it's quite a hard position, you know, like, and she's doing such a good job on the wing. I don't think you want to do that move into the midfield when you're not fully across that international level, because it will be a jump up from Opiki. So I think that looks like the logical choice to me.
Brazier, Demant, Waka, if those other players aren't available.
Yeah, and you just know, like, experience is going to be crucial. And obviously Kelly, we had her on here before she left as well. She's been through it all. And you talk about problem solving on the run. She's someone that is one of the best to do it. And almost like the big moments she'll lift. Like even when you look at the Black Ferns trial and I suppose who rode into the squad, is any opportunity she was given, she rose to it. So that's what you normally see with someone with that amount of experience. They don't need too many reps. They don't need a lot of lead-in time. They can just back, I suppose, the collateral they have in their brain and make the right calls on the day. It just seems logical in my opinion.
I really like the way that they use Georgia Miller on kickoff. Like the way that she returns the ball, puts on some footwork and leaves those runners coming up to her in danger. It's a different kind of approach to the way that most rugby teams play, right?
Yeah, and when you hear Georgia speak, I spoke about it before in terms of Rusty's ability to get players to believe. She's got a licence. Like that freedom is incredible, I think, as a player. And you'll expect some errors, but like she's like the best athlete really in rugby. You'd have to say, like she could play anywhere, but like you heard from her herself, she's like, I wouldn't want to be in the midfield. She loves the loosies because she's involved in everything. But then she's also positioned to act like a midfielder and or the edge in an attack. So it's like that maverick role or that roaming role just suits her perfectly from her sevens background. But I think she's literally got the skill set and the physicality to do it. But I think it gives her a lot of confidence that she's the person that can make the big play and has the, I suppose, a little bit more forgiveness if it doesn't come off.
Yeah, push the pass, whatever it might be 50-50.
You see it back yourself, pull your trigger. There's certain players that you want to have that licence.
I suppose the one thing they really need to make sure of is that last week we were praising the kicking. This week the kicking at goal was difficult, but they seem to have a backup, which is at least good in Braxton Sorensen.
Yeah, I mean that was a pretty sharp nudge. Look, I think it is important though. Like we need a good day. This is going to be fine margins. We had the kick to win, obviously in Christchurch. So like you almost, like they've shown they can do it, and you've said like got a good backup. But I think Renee's the one. Like man, she's got the runs on the board. I think you want to put those big moments on experience that you can draw on. You don't want to put it on a young person's or a young player's shoulder, although she's full of confidence. And if she's the only option out there, absolutely do it. But you need your experienced people to step up in the big moment in these big games.
So let them have a bad day. Continue to carry on. Yeah.
I think, and they'll learn from it, and technique might have been off, or they might, we're big on the old prep. They might not have done the same things and so forth. So just try and replicate what they did going into that Ireland test would be the key for me.
The Canadians looked slick. They whether it's De Goody, who's got X Factor as a lock, or from 9 through 15, the way they execute, you got to be on your game. Yeah,
and I think it's like, we think about the game we played earlier this year in Pack 4, their willingness to take quick taps in their own half and really try to expose the Black Ferns in and around the tightness defensively and try and get to that edge. So I think it's almost, I always try to give another team that you may have seen if you watch enough rugby, but it's almost, I feel like the Canadians are like the 2012 Chiefs in terms of, they'll take it, they'll put the ball down, walk away, come back, do a quick throw in, they'll quick tap, they'll shape like they're going to kick and, quick tap or do a cross-field kick. So they're just not a team you can switch. You can't button off, and it's going to be tight as it was. Like we had to fight pretty hard for that draw in Christchurch. So I have no doubt. I think the team, the Black Ferns team, is well advanced because they were sort of looking at the World Cup squad, creating opportunities, and there was a lot of changes. But I think the Canadians are well advanced as well. So I still think this will be won within those 7 points.
Yeah, it scared me seeing them. Pelletier, the halfback, you got Tessier in there, you got Shell at the back. Players ran beautiful angles. They support so well for Canada.
Yeah, and I think probably the reason why you feel that as well, because the Wallaroos have actually grown a lot. If you think about that test in Wellington, they put us under pressure for a good 40 minutes. So I suppose you have those memories and you see how flawless the Canadians played. It does, yeah. I think It's a hard one because I think both squads have advanced a hell of a lot from the last time they played, and as we get to this part of the tournament, you know, there is a lot of injuries for all squads, and sometimes that second tier of depth does allow, you know, especially for the Wallaroos, it does allow for, I suppose, teams to really rip you apart.
It feels like a 50-50 game, this Canada-New Zealand game. It really could go either way.
Yeah. Look, I think if you look at the way the Black Ferns have grown, I would put them as, you know, slight favourites. But I think the big shift they need is that first 40. And the one thing is sometimes you focus as a team on that first 40. They still need that desperation and desire and willingness to play in the second 40 because that's held them in good stead. Don't want to have a better 40 and be ahead by a few, but then not have that same, because you go into half time at 10-10 against South Africa and you're expected to win by plenty. You come out with an edge and a focus, and you really...
And they did.
Yeah, but you still, you know, like we need that across the 80s, so they need to just make sure that, you know, although fixing one issue doesn't open up a dip or opportunity, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Now, on the other game, you've got England-France. England, again, looked super dominant against Scotland. The French were in the trenches. Cards, you know, at the wrong end of the field. They had 13 entries against them and only made 2 themselves. They were in the trenches that game and somehow came out of it.
Yeah, but it's also the fatigue that takes. Like, I'm not, like, it sounds ridiculous, like they've got a week between games, but banged up bodies, less time on the grass, you know, and also I suppose it doesn't give you that freedom or confidence going into the semi. However, we do know the psyche of any French team, that it won't really bother them, I don't think. Like, they'll just back themselves to do it on the day. But that English side, if you look at all the key facets, they just dominate. It's going to take a monumental effort to topple them in this competition, I think.
Especially at home.
Yeah, but they don't even look fade, like they just don't look rattled by it. They're very process driven and very operational. Like there's emotion, you know, at some tries, but they look like a methodical military group, you know, like they're not letting, I just don't feel like they're letting the noise of home. They just seem very measured, and they're still hurting, I think, of the World Cup here. And I just think they've just got this razor sharp focus, and yeah, as I say, I just think it's going to take a lot, because even when they make mistakes, they still put the opposition straight away back under pressure. You know, like they don't dwell on things, they get to move on quite quickly, but when they don't dwell on errors, they also don't dwell on the good stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like it's almost like, okay, finish, back to okay, finish, back. You know, like they're just very methodical in the process, and I think just their thought process probably mentally more than anything.
Right, so you are picking a New Zealand-England final again.
Yep.
That will make it beautiful. The storyline that runs through that is amazing, really.
Yeah, and I think it'll be crucial understanding, if that is to be the case, who's fit and available.
Yeah.